presents Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian.
What is up? Glad you could join us on a Monday night. He, of course, is Matt Shepard. I'm Sean Baligian. But let me say this, Shep. Let me say this right now. They didn't have the home run derby when we were kids. They didn't. I would have gone crazy over it. I mean, no doubt about that. But I've had an epiphany about the All-Star Game. Point blank, for many years, I didn't watch it. And then many years ago when my son was watching it and I saw how fired up he got about it, it hit me. The epiphany was, you know what? The All-Star Game isn't about me. I mean, think about it. When we were younger, Shep, and you and I aren't that far apart in age. When we were younger, it was awful when the National League beat the American League so many times in a row. Do you remember that? It was like my team lost. And Fred Lynn hitting the home run off of Atlee Hammaker in Chicago and raising the fist in the air. And it was so funny because for years, and I'm coming out of left field, no pun intended with this, but I wanted to ask you if you kind of felt the same thing. For years, I couldn't care less about the All-Star Game. Whatever, it's the All-Star Game. And then I noticed like the joy that my son got out of it. And it reminded me that it's not about me. That is a special event. And it probably should be more applauded and embraced than it is. Well, what's your whole take on the whole All-Star Game thing?
I think the home run derby has gotten old.
100%.
I do believe the Major League Baseball All-Star Game is the best, but it's only because you have to play defense in the All-Star Game.
Yep.
It's not like Frank White back in the day could allow a team to score by letting one go through his legs. That's just, it's not like, a guy playing Olay defense in the NBA or the NHL or anything like that. What I have said for a long time, for probably a decade now, about the All-Star Game is, in an effort to make sure the All-Star Game's home run derby doesn't get old, and it's really spent. All right. It's sort of like the NBA dunk contest, even though you're blown away about how far a guy can hit a baseball. I think they need to expand it to a skills competition. So you want to keep the home run derby? Great. Don't make it as many rounds. Don't make it as many hits, or many swings or misses or foul balls or whatever the case may be. What you need to do is you need to incorporate more skills into the game. Who's got the strongest arm from right field? Who's the fastest going first to third? Who lays down the best bunt in a target? Which catcher has the fastest pop time? I don't think you get pitchers with, who throws the heaviest fastball or something like that, because you worry about arm blowout. But pop time would be really cool. You don't have to have a guy running. You just got to make sure it's glove to glove. Who throws it the quickest? It's almost like the Hollywood Stars competition that we used to watch on ABC back in the day when we were kids. Maybe a guy who steals the fastest bag if you don't want to do first to third, whatever. Incorporate other aspects of the game than just power. I think that would be pretty cool. I think the NHL does the best job in that type of skills competition. NBA has expanded theirs. It's not just the three-point shooting that Larry Bird used to dominate, right? Now it's a tag team with the WNBA to bring it in, which is kind of cool, okay? Each team, each league has evolved. You and I both think the NFL involvement is really a massive step backwards, and it's just an IM college, highlight reel of people.
Sure.
But I think the MLB could do a wonderful job if they expanded their ability to show other aspects of the game than just power.
Shep, in along those lines, I want to echo what you said. I'm just not an all-star guy in the other sports. I think hockey is abysmal. Football's the absolute worst, and it was about time that they got rid of it. That is not football. Right. Just as that isn't hockey. Basketball is something different. baseball is the most truest to its natural form. Obviously, the way you use pitchers is a little something different. And boy, it's almost like I've been in this business before. Speaking of pitchers, Shep, Tarik Skubal got robbed, didn't he?
I think so.
I do too.
I think the reason Bruce Bochy chose Corbin Burns of the Orioles as the All-Star starter for the American League is twofold, maybe threefold. One, Baltimore's got the best record in the American League. Two, Corbin Burns has never started an All-Star game, really only pitched in one of the previous three, and he took the loss back in 2021. Didn't pitch in 22, didn't pitch in 23. And lastly, and this is a stretch, maybe, just maybe, it's because Adley Rutschman is starting catcher.
Yep.
Here's my issue, though, Sean. We come from a world of baseball now where just about every rule helps an offense, right? We want to see offense in baseball. That's been the mandate by Rob Manfred and those who institute the new rules. Find me a rule that's helped the pitcher, and I'll wait. Okay,
Yep.
really, right? Defense has got to be on the infield grass or infield dirt. No more shift. Pitchers only have 2 step-offs, disengagements from the mound, all that stuff. Bigger bases. I think if you're going to promote a young star like Paul Skeens, and I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I mean, Chris Sale could make a strong case, but he has started an All-Star game, so maybe there's a little leeway there. What Skeens has done is unbelievable. There's a buzz around him, almost like Fernando Valenzuela, almost like Mark Fidrich.
You're right. Yeah.
So they want him on the mound. That's great. Then double down on it and put Skubal on the mound. And it's not like he doesn't deserve it. Just like it's not like Skeens couldn't make an argument either. But double down on it. Put 2 of the younger power pitchers in all of baseball, righty against a lefty, and let them go at it and pop the gun at 99 miles an hour on a regular basis and wow everybody for an inning.
It would be unbelievable. No, I'm with you. It would be unbelievable. As Eric pointed out, so glad they took home field away from the All-Star game. It's just one of those head scratching. I mean, still, call it a crazy idea. How about you just give home field advantage to the team with the better record? I know that sounds nuts.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the way you should do it. I still can't.
It's not that hard. It's really not. I mean, you and I could have figured that out a long time ago. Just make it the best record, and don't give me this balanced schedule. Other teams and other leagues and other sports do it all the time. Best record, simple as that, put to bed.
If you take a look, and Shep, I'm a firm believer in this. I know you and I have talked about this forever. That's why I love doing, I'll never forget. Actually fact-checking yourself and doing some homework is kind of a lost art. Mm-hmm. And we were just talking about this on the show the other day. Especially like during that time where everybody was talking about, wait till you see these prospects that are in the Tiger system. And I would always tell people, Google is your friend. You can look up their numbers. You can see what they are. And sadly for the Tigers, often are not doing if you look up their numbers. And the reason why I bring that up right now is, honestly, if there's one person out there that says that Shep's being a homer or I'm being a homer, do your homework. Right. Go look at Skubal's numbers right now.
Yeah.
There's no justification. I mean, he might be the best pitcher in baseball. Now, I understand, like you said, Paul, no doubt about it. Okay. I mean, it's something else right now. It's funny you mentioned Fernando Mania. For those of us old enough to remember it, I mean, it didn't matter if you were in LA or you were in Detroit. Everybody knew when Fernando Valenzuela was pitching. It was really something special. And that's kind of the way it is right now with Pittsburgh. But I would put, and I did this today, I would put his numbers up against anybody. Lopez is having a fantastic season in Atlanta. His whip is a little high, whereas Skubal's whip is very, very scarily low right now. Mm-hmm. So I don't want anybody to think I'm being a homer, Shep. Go do your homework. Look at the numbers and how you could say there's a better guy than Skubal right now. Good luck with that.
No, I agree 100%. Leads the American League in earned run average. 10 wins and 140 strikeouts are both third most. Wins above replacement. Tops among pitchers. Those are really important statistics, okay? And again, you're right. We're not being homers. But if it's not necessarily about the best, because if it were the best numbers wise, then you put Chris Sale on the mound for the National League.
Yep.
All right. If it were best about numbers wise, then there were certain other players who probably deserved to be in the game, but they were voted in. Jurickson Profar, for crying out loud, is batting ninth for the National League tomorrow night. It's about gaining eyeballs. You want people to watch an exhibition, okay? Then you're trying to put out something that's going to grab you, right? So if you're going to do that, and that's the excuse for Paul Skeens, among the other things, with his really good numbers, then Skubal should be one of those guys that you can introduce to people who probably don't know as much about him as they do Paul Skeens, and say, you know what? What a great story this is. Give the announcers a chance to expound on the fact that this guy's a 9th round draft pick, okay, from Seattle University, and a guy who has suffered through 2 surgeries already, and what a bounce back. And if you want to bring up the fact that, some people are suggesting that the Dodgers and Orioles are interested, they're willing to trade for pitching, it gives you a lot of runway to talk about a lot of different things with a game of baseball that keeps you attracted moving forward. The later you get into a game as an announcer, the more difficult it is to broach those types of topics.
No doubt. Bill said Skubal got hosed, and Bill, you were joining us late because that was the first thing that Shep said. He said, is it because Baltimore is a better team than Detroit? I think you and Shep hit the nail on top of the head. And listen, is this, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I don't want to say that, because obviously Corbin's having a fantastic year, and the Orioles are a great story with all the times that they've tried to rebuild and they finally put it all together and everything. So I don't want to say that this is, the robbery of robberies, but Tarik Skubal's the best pitcher. And unfortunately, with the All-Star Game, sometimes the best pitcher doesn't always go. And that's
let me ask you this. And I don't want to be the guy who always talks about Detroit getting disrespected. I think that's bunk. I don't think that's necessarily the case at all. I could go back to I suppose, a couple of examples where I think they have been, but overall, I don't think that's necessarily true. Without mentioning 87 and the MVP. How about, sorry, or Lou Whitaker not being in the Hall of Fame, or Bill Friedman not being in the Hall of Fame, or Mickey Lowe, or whatever. Stop me, will you please? Yeah. How about the fact that if Tarik Skubal were wearing a more prominent jersey, do we think he would be on the bump? My guess would be yes.
Yes.
Now, if he played for a winning team, that might be helpful too. But there's only so much one pitcher can do. And I think it's justifiable if Detroit Tigers fans are a little peeved. He's going to get in there. He's going to pitch. He'll probably be the second guy in. And we should be okay with that. But there's something about being a starter that makes you a little bit more proud, because he's announced when he's warming up in the bullpen. Then the numbers flash while he's on the starting mound. And, the storylines can go a little bit deeper. That's all.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, because my brain went there today. I thought to myself, let's use the Boston Red Sox as an example. The Red Sox right now are a wild card team. It's the Boston Red Sox. If Skubal was a Boston Red Sox, do I think that he gets the start? I think so. I really, truly do.
Yeah. Tim said manager and pitcher are from the same team. It's as simple as that. No controversy. They're not from the same team. Bruce Bochy's a Texas Ranger. He made the call. Corbin Burns is an Baltimore Oriole. Torey Lovullo is the National League manager. He's from Arizona. And, of course, Paul Skeens is from Pittsburgh. Couldn't be more wrong than that one, Tim. Sorry.
I don't like I said, I don't want to diss on Corbin, right?
No, I don't need to sound like that.
No,
right?
and I know you're not, but I mean, look, and this is where, again, I do your homework. Look at the numbers. I mean, the numbers, it's there. It's real. Skubal.
What bothers me about the numbers, Sean? Sorry to interrupt. Here's the thing that bothers me about the numbers. People will say wins can be very misleading for pitchers, or they don't mean as much as they used to, and they'll bring up those numbers. But in the end, when a contract comes up, or when a guy is at the end of the season, or you're fighting for, what do? You support your argument with numbers. So I think there are certain numbers that are really important. You brought up one of them: walks, hits per innings pitch. I brought up one: wins above replacement. When you're as high as he is, okay, we're not talking about a closer. We're not talking about Emmanuel Clase or Craig Kimbrell here. We're talking about guys who are lasting 6, 7 innings and throwing close to 100 pitches or more. Those numbers are really important, I think, and Tarik Skubal's can't be beat.
I have another thought I've been throwing out there. I don't know if you and I have talked about it, and you had a front row seat for it literally last year that I want to bring up to people. But first, let me tell you about our friends at Legacy. These guys have been helping people all over town. They helped my family. They will help your family. And, the thing about Legacy is the homework they put into it. I'm living proof of that. And thousands of Metro Detroiters also know that Legacy Partner is the place to go to get help with your home and auto insurance. Our friends at Legacy Partners are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents. They provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. Now, Legacy has helped people by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you. And of course, right now, who is kidding who? It's all about saving money. That's just the name of the game. Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're probably paying too much. You could be underinsured. Call to get your quote. Give Legacy Partners a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, business insurance needs. 586-209-4106. That's 586-209-4106, or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes. Shep, I feel badly, and I don't know if you and I have talked about this, yell at me and tell me to shut up. When Skubal really picked it up, like the last month and a half last year, I honestly think that 90% of the Detroit area wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
I felt sorry for him because
you said that. I agree with you.
Yeah, I didn't know if I brought that up to you because it was like, you know me with a baseball loving son. I was able to still, put everything on my platter. I can get the college football on there. I can get the Lions euphoria on there, and have the opportunity to go to Comerica Park multiple times with my son. He's been can't miss for a long, long time now. And I'm serious when I say this, and I understand it's not a long period of time, but even for a short period of time from, last year, August to now, this is as dominant a run by a pitcher as I've seen. And I say that knowing that Justin Verlander has air in his lungs. I say that knowing that Anibal Sanchez, I don't think gets half the credit he deserves for how well he pitched in 2013. Max Scherzer, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, this has been as good a run as I've seen in my lifetime, and I don't think that's an overstatement.
Yeah, Jordan Zimmerman, when he first came to the Tigers. No, I'm just kidding. I agree with you. I think because Detroit is so rich in tradition with pitchers. I'm glad you clarify it with your lifetime, and I think you're right. I mean, Verlander, Scherzer, you bring up Sanchez, Fister for a period of time.
Oh, he was sick.
Both remember when Doyle Alexander came here and went 9-0 to help the team win the division. So we've seen a lot of it. I think it's been exciting and thrilling to watch. I'm not going to get too caught up in all of it just yet. I want to see if it can continue because we all know that these things get tougher as you move on in a season, especially for a guy like Tarik Skubal. The thing that bothers me, I think more than anything, is that when people are talking, and this is more of a national scope, I think, more than you and I, they're talking about, the Tigers aren't ready to compete this year. They probably won't be next year. So really you should get rid of Skubal. And then they bring up two specific organizations, the Orioles and the Dodgers, and they're talking about getting those two rich organizations into a bidding war and getting prospects. And I have to remind people, when people talk about the Dodgers, it's not like I don't like the Dodgers or don't respect them, but they've had a great farm system. 4 of their top 7 prospects, 4 of their top 7 are pitchers. 3 of them right-handers, 1 of them left-hander. They've got 2 catchers in that mix too, which would be great. But I don't give a crap what anybody says. And we don't have to talk about this today. We can do it closer to the deadline. When you're going to trade an elite performer, and you just talked about it, among the best you've seen in your lifetime through this stretch of games, carry over from last year at the end of the season to this year, when you're doing that, you've got to get MLB ready guys. Don't give me prospects.
Amen.
Right? And if you continue to bring up the Dodgers, like you just said, you want to go to Google, you want to go to DuckDuckGo, whatever engine it is, do your damn homework and stop giving me a Dodgers organization that is strongly made up, at least in their top 7, of pitching when your organization prides itself on its strong pitching. That's not what you need.
Shep, I lost my mind in the last 7 years at the slander thrown at Dave Dombrowski's name. I did. I've lost my mind over it because I have half a mind of getting on my knees and crawling all the way to Philadelphia and saying, please come back, Dave. We're sorry for all the mean things that were said and everything. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I bring up Dave Dombrowski is twofold. Number one, it's not like he moved on from Detroit and had any success. And the second thing is,
stop.
Right, and either stop.
Right.
And the second thing is exactly what you just said. How many times was there that next arm? There was that next arm. And Jacob Turner was one of those guys that everybody was salivating over. And if you remember, people in this town were going, you can't trade Rob Brantley. You can't trade Jacob Turner. He went out and fleeced them for Anibal Sanchez and Omar Infante. And you know what? It starts with those arms. How many arms did he take? Now, did they all pan out? No, they did not all pan out. But he got Justin Verlander. We had Bonderman for the spell, and then things went south. You know how that goes. There was Porcello, who, he had his ups and downs. We've talked about that 1,000 times ad nauseum. But it was always about getting those arms. And if the arm didn't stay here, you could flip that guy in a trade.
Right. Well, look what he did. Cameron Maybin. He gets Miguel Cabrera and Dontrell Willis, and he gives Florida Cameron Maybin, right? Jacob Turner and Rob Brantley. That's what you're talking about, right? I mean, those were the guys part of that Miguel Cabrera trade, and he becomes a Hall of Famer. What did he do in Boston? Wins championships. What's he done? He was in our booth last year in Philadelphia. And I thanked him for a couple of things. First of all, thanked him for helping our friend Mario Impemba get part of the radio contract with the Red Sox. Also, we sat and talked to him for, 20 minutes on philosophy of drafting, philosophy of trading, philosophy of who's important for him in his front office. And first of all, as nice a guy as you'll ever meet.
Oh.
But all the philosophies that he told me last year is something that he continued to tell and continues to work and live by. And he's done it at every stop. You're not that successful if you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Amen. Amen. Bottom line, I'll never forget when we brought in Doug Fister, and there were people, if you remember that day, that the tribe went and got Ubaldo Jimenez.
Yeah, from Colorado.
Yeah, that was, do you remember that was the big get?
Yes.
And Shep, I was besieged with people that day saying, we just gave the division away. It's over. Like, who's this Doug Fister guy? Like, again, the way he finished that season and then what he did, it was insane. It was like every time he took the bump, you just expected the Tigers to win, and the record reflected it. Right. It's just advanced scouting and little things like that. Is maybe this guy's not in the best spot right now. We think he's a hell of a lot better pitcher than he's shown in his previous stop. And that was another one, Shep. You can't give up Casper Wells. No way you can't. I think that worked out, and you can't look at many Dave Dombrowski trades and say, Dave kind of got fleeced on that one, you
got big posture for Eugenio Suarez, I suppose that's one of them. But I think more oftentimes he won it than he didn't win it. Somebody asked, the only thing I can think of is AJ Hinch asked that Skubal doesn't start. Now, AJ Hinch actually was public and said, I made my pitch. He wanted his guy to start. So I don't think that was it. Bill says, Shep, will Torque ever play for the Tigers big league club again? Yes, he will. I'm confident he will. I think he's going to hit. I think he's going to hit with power. I think he's got to get fixed. But I think the first and foremost, you and I have talked about this, they've got to stop clouding his head. Mm-hmm. Just go out there and swing, man. Stop thinking about, where's this pitch going to be? I think less is more for Spencer Torkelson. It's just my guess. Look, I'm not saying I'm right all the time. I trust the words of Jim Leland, who told me for 2 straight summers in Lakeland, this kid's going to hit 30 to 40 homers. Jim Leland's seen a lot. Last year, talking with people, Colt Keith is going to hit. I believed he was going to hit even when he's hitting 222 this year. And look at what he's done over the last, month and a half, or month, if you will. He's been really good. I'm convinced that Spencer Torkelson, I don't know if it'll be this year, but I'm convinced he'll be back for this team, and I think he'll play well.
Joseph, thank you for the kind words. What a great duo you guys make. Thank you very much. Eric asked about the Yankees. Do they make any big moves before the deadline? Big batter pitcher. It's the same thing with Cashman. I know, Eric, you probably hate me saying it, but Shep, this has been their routine for 2 decades now. They have a murderer's row type of lineup, okay, and they don't have enough pitching. And there's a reason why the Tigers were able to take advantage of them in 06 and 11 and 12. And how did they do it? They did it with pitching. And the above aforementioned Doug Fister was one of those guys. If you remember shutting him down the way he did in that game 5, and in 06 when they just completely shut the door on that Yankee team. So I mean, it's easy for me to say from afar, but listen, after 20 years, that's been their Achilles heel for 20 years. It's amazing when you think about it. It just every October, it seems, here it goes, as the temperatures drop, the bats don't hit as well, and pitching is at a premium. And the Yankees, simply put, haven't had enough pitching, Shep.
I don't disagree with that at all. And, if you're looking at a team with prospects anyway, Yankees top 6 are position. 5 of the top 6 are position players. Now, how good are they going to be? I mean, Chase Jones is the one pitcher. How good is Jason Dominguez going to be? I don't know if they're willing to part with any of that. My guess is the Yankees will go out and do something. They have to. Lost the division last year to Baltimore, beaten by Minnesota for the first time in who knows how long. Minnesota hadn't won a playoff game, I think, in 10 straight opportunities. Or series in 10 straight opportunities. Yeah, I think they look at it with Texas struggling. Seattle's not overpowering in the West. I don't think there's many people in the East who give enough respect, and maybe nationwide, to Cleveland, Minnesota, or Kansas City in the I think they look at the AL Central. They look at the American League as being very winnable, and they will go out and grab some pitching, whether it be Garrett Crochet or whomever. They're going to make a bid on pitching, guaranteed.
All right. So Jason said already somebody with 20 home runs off the bat at the home run derby. I saw somebody make a comment about it, and I was just looking down at my phone. My son texted me, and he said, "Please tell me you saw this national anthem." Can somebody explain to me? Because somebody said that might be the worst national anthem they've ever seen. Shep, did you hear it? Did you have it on in the background?
No. I had it on the background, but the volume is down so I could hear you. So I did not. I did not hear it.
Guy. But no, my listen, he just texted me. He goes, "Did you have the Derby on? I just heard the worst national anthem of all time. It is worse than the Fergie one." All right, so somebody has to. If you guys were watching, who was it? What was it? Can you describe it? I'm sure I'll catch it later.
What's the worst one that you can remember?
The Rosie O'Donnell was horrible. The one my son brought up, Fergie, was terrible. Carl Lewis, remember where his voice cracked?
Oh my God,
that was.
I thought it was Roseanne Barr.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Carl Lewis one. The Carl Lewis one's a good one, man. That's a really good.
Remember when he just stops and goes, "Uh-oh."
Yeah, I do remember
that. When he went to go reach for it and he couldn't hit the note, and he just goes, "Uh-oh." If that doesn't. All right, somebody said, wait a second. Somebody said, yeah, the anthem was brutal. See, now, gosh darn it. I wish Todd, I wish we wouldn't.
Yeah, we'll get a chance to. We'll see it after the show. Shep, will Skubal be the second pitcher? Yeah, we said, yeah, we think he will. Bone with another homer. Okay, great. Barr, it was bad. Roseanne. Okay, my old man always complains about the anthem. Now I do the same thing. Oh my God. Come on, Sean, give it to
Gordy's my buddy. Like, Shep, seriously, we were just talking about this. Like, I've turned into my old man. I made fun of him for years, and I've turned into him, including walking around with slippers and socks. You know what? Who's gonna put this dimwit out there on national TV to sing the goddamn American anthem? You know, like, right? I can still pull my legs up right now. I got slippers and socks on. You know.
Wait, are they black socks?
No, they're the little ankle huggers, which is even worse, if you ask me. The national anthem was absolutely brutal. The fans tried to save it by singing it with her. Who was it? Was it like some celebrity or something?
No
Or
idea.
like,
No,
yeah.
no, I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't watch it. I don't. I mean, it's just to me, it's like okay, there's another one. Okay, there's another one. Okay, unless I'm about to see some type of record being set, and how do you guess that, right? I
Right.
mean, but
Right.
unless you're about to see somebody just going off, Bobby Abreu, for example,
Oh.
then you're going, okay, now I got to see it. Or if I see an absolute train wreck, Brandon Inge, then that's a possibility, right? But I really don't. I don't watch too much.
Well, and I'm not gonna lie, like seriously, Chris Berman just ruined it for me. I mean, when he
Oh.
he turned into a chicken. Bark, 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 bark. It was like you doing a chicken imitation after a while.
Yeah, enough is enough. Like you want to do it. You want to do it every once in a while, maybe once per hitter, okay, but not 7 times a hitter,
No.
please. It's just the cliches and the bits. Like you and I were talking last week about the bits we used to do at DFN, and a lot of them were awesome. We were talking about the game. His bits got older faster than anything I've ever witnessed.
Just hammered him into the ground.
Oh my
Just
God.
hammered him into the. There was a time, Shep, where sorry to bounce around on you, but like prime time was mandatory viewing for me.
For sure.
Like
Right.
and then like after the second or third year, it was just like I don't want to do this because you and I grew up in an era. I try to explain this to my son, and he doesn't get it. Like we didn't get updates. So like for a while, I was like somebody. The kids grew up with updates, but for us, having your dad allowing you to stay up late to watch Howard Cosell's Monday night 2-minute package was like the greatest thing on earth. And
You couldn't wait for it.
God forbid if he actually showed Billy Sims on there, I'm probably sporting mahogany. Like honestly, even at 12 years old, I mean, that's just the way it is,
Wait, what's going on? Oh, Billy Sims is on. I get it. Right. Right. But but here's the thing, Sean. In today's day of broadcasting, if you're the straight guy, and I mean that in sense of you just call the game, it's not good enough for people. They want certain effects where it's, you are giving them some type of, signal or some type of catchphrase that is most important.
Yep.
And that seems like that's what people want more than anything else.
Yep.
And some guys deliver and some guys don't. I mean, it's just, look at the nicknames that are constantly used in certain college football play-by-play. It's like, are you serious? I mean, you're calling this dude by a nickname when most people don't know who that dude is. I mean, just call him by his name. It's okay. It works.
To all our hockey fans out there, John Buccigross, I don't. So I'm lost. That's another one. That is 2 decades of what am I missing? Was there something that happened that turned him into a quote unquote hockey guy? It blows my mind.
Yeah.
All right, her name was Ingrid Andress. See, here's another. I have no idea who that is. Do you know who Ingrid Andress is?
Could have said she was an actress, and I would have believed you.
I know Ursula Andress. Who can forget her in Dr. No? Can I tell you guys about the wealth advantage?
You could have told me that young lady was in Jurassic Park 2, and I would have believed you. I have no idea. No idea.
Hey, if you're ready to take charge of your financial future, look no further than the Wealth Advantage Group. They're located in historic downtown Northville and owned by the Hanson brothers right there with over 20 years of industry experience. They understand your financial goals are as unique as you are. That's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready to sell your company, or already in retirement, these guys can and will, I might add, help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients through all stages of life. They have clients in over 20 states. The investment world is a complex one. So if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it's time to work with the experts. Reach out to those guys. Do yourself a favor. You're doing me a favor, but most importantly, you're doing yourself a favor by calling the Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574. That's 248 773-8574, or view their website at www.thewealthadv.com. Bobby Witt Jr. with 16 home runs. Bill said Billy Sims' highlights were Sean's original version of Blue Chew. It was, I can't stress this enough to the younger generation, Shep, and you'll agree with me. The Lions, they didn't have anything closely resembling a superstar. Nope. I loved Doug English. The Silver Rush was fun, and they had their own name.
Bubba Baker.
Yeah, when Billy Sims burst onto the scene, it just went like that. Like that was a legitimate star that defenses had to account for. And, when you watch a team for so many years, and number one, they're devoid of that. And then number two, he's literally the only guy like that for X amount years more than that. Yes, that has a huge impact on your life.
I don't know, Sean. I mean, Jeff Chadwick, pretty impressive. David Hill, pretty impressive. Here's what I would tell you. This is going to be blasphemous.
All right.
People are going to rip on me, and that's okay. You may too. Billy Sims, healthy, as good as Barry Sanders.
I'm not going to argue that. I said last week, Shep, I said when I was talking with Blake, he is, in my mind, the most underrated Detroit athlete in my lifetime. Period. I don't think anybody belongs on the same stage as him. I really don't. Unfortunately, his teams were so bad, but gosh damn it, was he fun to watch. And teams had to account for him.
You know what? You've really made me think. What a statement.
I don't take it back either. Damn it.
I'm not asking you to. Can I make a pitch for Bill Freehan?
I don't remember him. I don't remember him as well. So I can, how I am. I'm kind of snobby.
Yeah.
I only talk about the guys that I saw.
Yeah,
In my lifetime, there's Billy Sims and nobody else. Yeah. Seriously. I mean that. It just unbelievable. Hey, you wanted to bring up the quarterback rankings, and I don't know if you and I have ever had the Jared Goff conversation. I'm really looking forward to having the Jared Goff conversation with you.
Yeah, me too. First, Bill says Barry Goat blasphemy by Shep. No, it's not blasphemy. I think I've said this. Barry Sanders is the greatest running back I've ever seen. All I said was, you've never seen Billy Sims when healthy. If he stayed healthy, he would have been as good as. So I don't think that's blasphemy.
I'm not taking it back either.
Yeah, a lot of people would tell you that I'm right, and a lot of people who played with him, and that's not jealousy. All right, real quick. ESPN Plus comes out. They interview executives, coaches, and scouts. So this has a little more merit to it than just media expressing their opinions.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't respect members of the media's opinion, but I think we have a tendency to oftentimes think with our heart instead of our head. The greatest argument, if you want to start a conversation or an argument, start talking about quarterbacks. With guys or people who love football. So you say, who are the top 10 quarterbacks? Immediately, you will get some type of debate. What ESPN Plus recently released, and they've done with every position. So, for example, like tackles, Penei Sewell was number 2. But I would say, at least with the quarterbacks, you and I both know who number 1 is. It's Patrick Mahomes. Number 2 they have is Joe Burrows, which I found interesting considering last year, I think he only played 9 games. Number 3 they have is Josh Allen. Number 4 is the reigning MVP. And number 5 is Matthew Stafford. Jared Goff is number 9. Detroit has themselves a top 10 quarterback after having a top 10 quarterback for a long, long time. Do we appreciate it? And if not, why? And if so, why?
All right, so let me start with this. I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning. I thought that Jared Goff was done. And if you watched him with the Rams the last 2 years and that he was with the Rams, he looked like a guy that was done. The numbers suggested he was done. The turnovers, the seeing ghosts, et cetera, et cetera. So I always, to me, I want to call me out before anybody calls themselves out.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I loved that deal before we realized that Jared Goff was an unbelievable reclamation project. And that's what he was. It's amazing what happens when you put a quarterback in positions to succeed and protect him. Isn't that amazing how that helps itself out? And in fairness to Jared Goff, he wasn't protected, with the Rams. So that was number one. I love the deal before Jared Goff had his reclamation. When you look at this deal now, this is one of those rare deals where you got a win-win. The Rams got their Super Bowl. The Rams got their Super Bowl. You can never take that away from the Rams, okay? Never, ever. Yeah. Was it worth the price? They won the freaking Super Bowl, man. End game, okay? That's it. I don't care what the Lions do from this point on. You won the Super Bowl. That's end. But you got to love what the Lions got, too. And to me, it was all about the picks. You got the picks and a top 10 quarterback.
Right.
Boy, you got to give the flowers to Brad for that deal, man.
But does it have to pay off in a Super Bowl because Stafford won his in order for it to be the true home run? And considering you're paying him the biggest franchise quarterback the Lions have ever had. Look, since 2022, and the scouts brought this up, he's number one in passing yards and number one in touchdown to interception ratio. So he treasures the ball. Really, really important. What I also found interesting is, and I kind of, for some reason, I lost track of this. Look, 2021, Stafford goes to the Rams. They go 12-5 and win the Super Bowl. 2022, Stafford misses 9 games. They miss the playoffs. 2023, he misses just 2 games. They're back in the playoffs. And what was supposed to be a mini rebuild, the dude still has the arm. He's still, look, you last year, I think you were one of the guys who really appreciated who's the kid, Puka Nacua with the Rams. Do you think he's an elite receiver without a quarterback like Matthew Stafford?
No.
You and I used to bring this up all the time when we talked about Stafford. So I'm going to give you some credit here too. But I've said this. He helped. I'm not saying he made Calvin Johnson, because Calvin Johnson was going to be great no matter what. But they helped one another.
100.
Everybody in Detroit who hated Stafford used to say, well, he was thrown to Calvin Johnson. Guess what? He threw to Nate Burleson, too, and he had a career high. He threw to Brandon Pettigrew, too, and he had a franchise record in tight ends. He threw to Chris flippin' Durham, who caught like 42 passes, and you never heard of him before. And he threw to Golden Tate, who had a career year, too. Those guys don't have career years without number 9 slinging the rock to them. I think you can give love to both at the same time if you're a Lions fan.
Oh, 100%. And at the same time, I thank God every day that Matthew Stafford finally said enough. I can't go through another rebuild. I mean, honestly, where would this franchise be if he didn't decide that? I mean, that sped everything up. And anybody with half a brain in their head, I know the worst word you can use to a Detroit sports fan is the P word, patience. Be patient. Nobody wanted to hear that after that trade. They thought there was an immediate dividend. That was Brad Holmes playing the long game, playing chess, thinking about the next move after the next move, and to me, that's what built this all to this point. So in that regard, I don't know how anybody could argue that Jared Goff doesn't deserve to be where he's at. And trust me, I'm holding my hands up. I was one of his biggest critics when he came. I thought he was shot. I thought he was mentally shot. He looked like a guy that was shot. And quite frankly, Shep, they nursed that guy back and they put him in positions of comfortability. Occasionally, you still see those moments, let's be honest. But you brought up Josh Allen. I love Josh Allen. I do
too. I do too.
Even with the mistakes that guy makes, he's just the big dumb guy that's playing in his backyard. And it's almost Favre-esque. He's going to do something dumb, but then he's going to do 2 things that's going to make you pay. Okay. But this is where I caution Lion fans, including myself. Everybody and their brother thought 3 years ago by this time Josh Allen and the Bills would have a ring, right? That was a foregone conclusion. Absolutely. Now what you have to do, ask yourself is, now how much is that window open? Really, how much is the Bills window still open? And that's what I say about the Lions. Look, you go to the NFC Championship game, of course, the next step logically should be, okay, it's time to take, the next step. I don't think there's any some people in this town are like afraid to, well, we can't say Lions and Super Bowl in the same sentence. Why not?
Yeah, we say
Especially
all
after
the time,
last
you
year.
and I. Oh,
Yeah, why not? After last year, why can't we do that? You
yeah,
know, we
right.
all needed to see that. So
Yeah, but
I
we have a hard time for some reason, Sean. We have a hard time letting go. So I'll
yep.
give you an example. Okay, uh, Eric says defense won it for the Rams. Matthew Stafford threw 41 touchdowns and 4,900 yards that year. So, but the defense won it for them. I mean, Aaron Donald's arguably the best defensive lineman in the history of the sport. And look, I think, yeah, he was. It was a big deal. If that's the case, then I hope you also admit then, since Detroit only had a top 10 defense twice in the history of Matthew Stafford's career in Detroit, that you would say that it wasn't his fault when they lost. I doubt you're willing to go that far. So that's what I love most about football. It requires both. Phil Simms helped the Giants win a Super Bowl, and his defense is one of the best, right?
Mhm.
Absolutely. It's not like the Rams defense was the 85 Bears. It wasn't Ray Lewis's led Ravens defense. It was a really good defense, but their offense was pretty damn good too. So that's why it frustrates me a little bit. The last thing I'd say about Goff, the thing that I was blown away when watching him here with Detroit is his strength of arm. I because of the way he throws, it's not like he throws the way Stafford does. It's not like the way Dan Marino or John Elway did, or even Warren Moon. Like I was NFL Network. I was watching the '93 Oilers when Buddy Ryan and Kevin Gilbreth were kind of fighting on the sidelines, and they lost to Joe Montana and the Chiefs in the playoffs, even though they had home field advantage. Watching Warren Moon throw it, it's like a catapult.
Yeah.
Not like Jared Goff has that type of fluidity in his throw, but man, he can spin it. That's the thing that surprised me about him more than anything else.
Yeah. Let me tell you about All About Catering before we get some final thoughts here. All About Catering LLC is a full-service caterer. Graduations, weddings, bridal showers, corporate events, anything you need catering for from 25 to 4,000 people. All About Catering can and will take care of you. Customer service and satisfaction is their number one goal. Do not sweat your next big event. Maybe you're doing something for the All-Star Game. Maybe you're doing something for college football. All you need to do is just go to allaboutcateringllc.com today to see their menus and all their 5-star reviews. Give them a call at 586-731-1398 to get your event started. We have used them. They did Jack's graduation party. Fantastic. Everybody gave me credit. Shep, seriously, everybody's so used to me cooking, going,
Right.
dude, the food was great. I was like, yeah, I did a pretty good job. Don't tell anybody. It wasn't me. Shep, so seriously, Lions, Super Bowl or bust? Is that the mindset going into this season?
I think it should be because and the reason I say that is because they're good enough to do it.
Yep.
But a lot of fan bases in a lot of cities will say that, but they know deep down inside their team isn't ready. This team is, and it has nothing to do with losing an NFC Championship game. You know me. I don't believe there's a tier. I don't believe that, well, they made it to the NFC Championship game last year, so that means the next step is the Super Bowl. No,
Yep.
that's not the case. Otherwise, the Bills would have won more or wouldn't have lost 4 straight. I just think this team is built the right way. I think it's really, really good. And I think there are so many different ways this team is going to be able to win games. Yes, I think they're arguably going in, if they're healthy, and we don't know the 53-man roster yet, I think they're the best team in the NFC with San Francisco right there with them.
I hate when you bring things up like that because this is extending the show, because I think a lot of us around here were spoiled by the Pistons. And what I mean by that is in the 80s, remember, it was first we couldn't beat the Hawks. Then we couldn't beat the Celtics. Then we couldn't beat the Lakers. And then finally it happened. So people in their minds think that it's a series of steps. You bringing up the Bills is a perfect analogy. People forget how fun that K gun was. And that's another team. Okay, well, the question isn't, are they going to win one? How many is Marv Levy and Jim Kelly going to win? And each one of those Super Bowl losses, you could say, were worse than the year before. You really could. And even though the last year that loss to Dallas wasn't as bad as the year before when they got pounded 52-17, Shep, they were in complete control of that game, up 13-3 at the halftime, and then absolutely died in the second half. I mean, died, got outscored 27-0 or whatever the hell it was. I mean, for a team that had been there 3 straight years to just fall flat on their face in the second half of their 4th Super Bowl in a row, right. I mean, how humiliating is that? So I couldn't agree with you more. And I think a lot of us are guilty of doing that about the 2024 Tigers. I really do. I think, okay, look at the way last year ended. We were excited. Oh my gosh, by golly, the logical step is 83, 84 wins. And that might put us in shouting distance of the Central Division. It doesn't work that way.
I think the only thing I would say, and I'm guilty of that, because I thought the Tigers would win the division. I'm guilty of it. What factored into at least my decision and my mindset was I didn't think it was a great division. Kansas City's improvement. Look, Kansas City has 52 wins right now. They won 56 games a year ago. So 4 games fewer, and we're in the middle of July. Okay, so they're going to blow past. Never would have guessed that, and would not have guessed Cleveland, who finished, I believe, 10 games under 500 a year ago, would be having the 3rd most wins in all of baseball. I just wouldn't have guessed it. But you're right. I didn't think it. I didn't base mine on a logical step. I based mine flawed mindset on they were going to spend money to fix problems in the offseason.
Yep.
Specifically power. And they didn't do it.
Yep.
And I should have known better, but I'll learn from my mistake, as I always try to.
It's very important. All right, last thing before we get out of here. When it's time to sell your house, buy a house, oftentimes both, you need to contact the right agent. Now, who would that agent be? There she is. Lindsay Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up here on the mean streets of Northville and has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business, and when it's time to move, our friend Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyer, seller, first-time buyer, doesn't matter. Make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She'll help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. Shep, enjoy the festivities the next couple days. I'm sure we'll catch up before the end of the week. I think day we're doing it Saturday again. Hopefully we can reconnect Saturday.
That sounds great, buddy.
Okay. God bless you. You guys enjoy. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matcherzak. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Still Alive by Anti-Ghost. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.